Welcome to the We Watch This Movie podcast, a podcast where we sit down and dissect the latest and greatest in film. I am DA, joined by JM. How you doing?
Faithful listeners, we've got some bad news. Our lengthy, in-depth discussion covering Armando Iannucci's latest picture, The Personal History of David Copperfield, as provided to us by Roadshow, quick shout out to them, has befallen a terrible fate. Dan, it's unsalvageable. It's corrupt. It's turned its back on us to join the dark side.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
Fear not, true believers, because we have a very special surprise for you. In fact, we might have just played a clip from the wrong Harrison Ford flick. Editor Dan Allen Gaming, hit it!
Yes, sir.
Dan, we did it. We uncovered a lost artifact, a true treasure, thought gone to time. We Watch This Movie podcast listeners, we have for you our first ever episode. And at the tail end of this, we have re-recorded our Q&A. We can't believe we've done it. I mean, there's so many questions here, but we're going to go back. We're going to answer them all over again with fresh takes. Listeners, we present to you, it's in the headline. Dan, what's the movie we're going to be covering today? Well, we actually covered it months ago.
I can't believe we found Casino Royale. Welcome to the We Watch This Movie podcast, where we sit down, relax, dissect the latest and greatest in movies. I'm Dan, joined by the legend himself, Jackson. How are you, mate?
Fantastic, Dan. Couldn't be any better.
Beautiful. Of course, we thank you all for tuning in to our first episode. We're going to kick it off with Casino Royale, 007's first film in the current Bond series, and we're going to count down to No Time to Die, the final James Bond for Daniel Craig. Are you excited, Jackson?
Absolutely. Let's get this thing started.
Beautiful. Of course, we thank you all for watching. Make sure to rate the podcast 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And of course, thanks to our sponsor for today's video, Displate. We'll talk about them a little bit later. With that being said, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms at We Watch This Movie Podcast. Jackson, let's get into Casino Royale.
Whatever I am, I'm yours.
The only question remains. Will you yield?
Jackson, Casino Royale.
I love this movie. I hadn't seen this film since it released in the cinemas, or what was it, 14 years ago now. So I was 12 at the time, and watching it again in this past week, getting ready for this podcast, it brought me back to being 12 years old, watching it in the theaters, and it was an awesome experience.
Were we really 12?
I
back
know,
then?
it feels like so long ago. We really were 12 back then.
Wow.
What happened? You've got a beard, I've got a beard. Where did it all go wrong?
Tell us a bit about let's give us a synopsis on the film for anyone that hasn't seen it or wants to watch along with us.
Absolutely. Let's go through it. What happens in Casino Royale? Recently promoted to 00 status, James Bond, played by Daniel Craig, takes on his first mission, in which he faces a mysterious private banker to world terrorism and poker player, Le Chiffre, played by Mads Mikkelsen, along with the beautiful treasury agent, Vesper Lind, played by Ava Green, and the MI6 man in Montenegro. Bond takes part in a high-stakes poker game set up by Le Chiffre in order to recover a huge sum of his client's money he lost in a failed plot that the British spy took down. 007 will not only discover the threatening organization behind his enemy, but the worst of all truths, to not trust anyone.
And what have you got for the IMDb rating, Rotten Tomatoes?
Everyone loved this when this came out in 2006. Rotten Tomatoes has this at a whopping 95%.
Ooh, that's good.
It is good. IMDb, user score of 8 out of 10.
That's good. How many ratings was that?
That's from over 500,000 ratings.
Whoa.
Letterboxd has it at a 3.9 from 225,000 members, which is quite a high score. How much did this gross? On a production budget reported at 150 million, this grossed over $600 million at the worldwide box office when it dropped. It was the highest grossing Bond film at that time, eventually being surpassed by Skyfall, which we'll cover in a couple episodes' time.
Yeah, right. That's wow. 600 is a strong performance straight off the bat.
It was. The previous film, Die Another Day, which was today is seen as a bit of a flop, did gross about 400 million. That was the biggest at the time for a Bond movie, but Casino Royale, everyone was surprised. Everyone loved it. Everyone couldn't be happier. Dan, what are your thoughts on this film?
Casino Royale, man. When, as you discussed before, we were about 12, 13 when it first came out, and when I watched it for a second or third time, I didn't appreciate it. I would have been about 18 at the time, but now watching it at 26 years of age, really, really loved it, appreciated everything about it. I mean, one thing that stands out for me, we'll go into it later, but the poker scenes.
Yes.
I've never seen a film be able to keep you engaged for so long in these sit-down poker scenes. So I just thought that was a standout. Of course, the opening chase scene, incredible. It really gets you into the mood of what this Bond is going to be. That is one of the best chase scenes I've seen, and still holds up to this day, 12 years later. So initial thoughts, really, really enjoyed it. Not without its faults, of course, and I thought Daniel Craig put on a really good performance.
Absolutely, Dan. I love that point you made about that first big chase scene that we have running through Madagascar when Bond's chasing that bomb maker. The film really is bookended by these huge action sequences. We get the one at the very end, which I'm not going to go into too much spoilers, but it takes place in Venice in this sinking house. And, it's a $150 million film. And at the time in 2006, we're certainly flirting with a lot more CGI and more things getting thrown at us at the screen. But you can really see where the money went, as this house is just sinking and falling to bits. But the whole middle of the film is this poker game. And it's gripping. It's high stakes. It's intense stuff. I love it.
And we got to give it up for our boy Mads Mikkelsen. I don't know if he was as big of a name back then as he is now, but he put on one hell of a performance too as the villain, didn't he?
Yeah, he was massive. And Le Chiffre in this film is this really layered performance. We see him in the first 20 minutes of film making some deal with these Ugandan terrorists who we're going to catch much later when they battle with Bond. And we look at him, we think he's this classic archetype villain, that he's got all his ducks in a row, he's got everything in control, but pretty quickly we find out that's not the case. And I don't know who else could have played this. Who do you think?
That's the thing. We'll touch on that later on in our segment, who would replace it with. But these two guys really back and forth was fascinating to watch, especially, like going back to that first chase scene. I thought what I really liked about it was it told a story throughout a chase scene. Usually it's just action, mindless action. Whether this one, Bond would do everything differently to this, martial artist guy. That was running, he would do flips and, maneuver his way through things.
There's
and
a lot of parkour.
Yeah, parkour, exactly. And Bond would just sort of make it up as he goes and fall, flop. It showed his age a bit, which it was more realistic that way. But I really like that part of it all.
Yeah, let's go even back further than that huge 20-minute chase. The first 4 minutes of the film, we've got it shot in black and white. This is Bond making his first assassinations, and he's earning his license to kill. He's taking out this I think it's is it a treacherous MI6 agent? And then he's learned of him through this other contact. It's black and white. It's gritty. It's bloody. It's not a Bond we've seen before. We can we can compare that to Die Another Day, released just a couple years earlier with Pierce Brosnan. We had Bond windsurfing through a tidal wave, a tsunami.
Yeah.
We had an invisible car. We had Halle Berry. All of those things are gone. They're all stripped away. In this, what's Bond's gadget? He's got a defibrillator.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that.
He's got.
It's just a
he's
man.
He's got a
man
mobile
on a mission.
phone. Has he got a? Has he got a gun? He's got a gun.
Hey, it was a Sony phone. Don't forget about that. They didn't let you forget that.
No, I think we're gonna find out when rewatching these movies that Sony won't let you forget anything, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a TV, whether it's a phone. It's Sony. You know when you're watching a Sony film.
Was the defibrillator a Sony one as well?
I don't know.
I love that opening.
Picking any of that.
I love that opening. That was
Yes.
black and white.
Yes.
And it was really gritty, really grainy. I don't know if that was a stylistic choice.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Kill Bill.
Yeah.
You know, a couple years before, we get Kill Bill. We get this black and white opening. We get the bride lying down. We get the gun over her face.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, whoa, this is where we are with action movies now.
Yeah.
Compared to Bond previously, when he might be chasing a henchman or kissing some girl in the first opening minutes, this is a very different Bond. But we still got that gun barrel sequence. That was amazing.
Yeah, it needed it. And then you have the great soundtrack, the song by Chris Cornell.
Yes, You Know My Name.
You Know My Name. I thought it was the best. I love it. I've got it on my Spotify now. I love that song.
I can't say I'm the biggest Chris Cornell fan, but
No.
when that song kicked in, it was, oh my God, Bond is back.
Yeah.
Bond is back. I've even got in my notes here.
Yeah, R.I.P. to Chris. But I mean, when I did a bit of research, you know, I heard Billie Eilish's theme, which we'll touch on in a few episodes' time when we review No Time to Die. But I was going through Skyfall theme, and I honestly think this is my favorite of the themes. I don't know why. Maybe it's my personal taste. It's not a classical style. It's more rock anthem sort of style. But
it's what Bond needed. It's a reinvention.
What he needed. It's
a
a
reinvention of the
correct.
score. We get a reinvention of action. We get a reinvention of Bond. It's exactly what this movie needed.
And as they go on, it gets more and more classical. I've found each and every episode as he gets older, a bit more grittier, and you know, with Skyfall, Spectre. So, but yeah, really loved the song.
What did you think of Daniel Craig? This was his first appearance as Bond. There was a bit of public outcry at the time when he was cast. What did you think, going back and rewatching Daniel Craig?
That's the thing. Everyone outcries when someone is, you know, casted as a big character. You look at Robert Pattinson as Batman recently. Not everyone was happy about that. I know that guy can act and he can pull it off, but not everyone does. You know, they think about Twilight. They don't know all the other stuff he's done. You know, Lighthouse and The Rover. But with Daniel Craig, I think he'd proven himself in a few films that, you know, this guy could act. He was... I don't know if there was a lot of outcry. I don't remember. You'll have to tell me, but...
Yeah, absolutely.
There was, right.
There was. So, in doing some research, going back to putting ourselves in, being 12 years old when this movie came out, I do remember hearing in the news about some outcry, and the big controversy over Blonde Bond was some of the people that he actually beat out for this role. Going back and finding out, there were a lot of websites that popped up. So there was one here, craignotbond.com. Probably my favorite, which is, it's still active now. You can still go back and read it, is danielcraigisnotbond.com. Now, a lot of these criticisms were aimed at Daniel Craig being A, blonde, B, having these steely blue eyes, and he was much shorter than most of the classic Bond actors as well. But I think it's fantastic. His physique, you get this short, stocky-looking rugby player. It's gritty. It's what this series needs. And despite being blonde, and he would get older and a bit more silver as the movies go on, did you notice how the film is lit in all these really warm orange and yellow tones and really stark contrasting blues? It starts to almost feel like a bit of a Michael Bay film with how much blue and orange they've got.
I did notice that. There was
but
a lot
it
of flares.
matches Craig. Yes, there's a lot of flares. It matches Daniel Craig. It's like they looked at this and they said, all right, we're going all in on Blonde Bond. We're going to make this happen.
I didn't even think about the hair color or anything like that. I just thought he nailed it. From 20 minutes in, I knew this is Bond.
2 minutes in, we had Bond turning around in a chair, aiming his gun at this MI6 agent, and I was like, yes, this is Bond.
He fit the bill in every facet of the word. I love him in this film, and from start to finish, I thought he was, you know, when we talk about who would we cast as this, I can't think of anyone else. I just thought he was perfect.
Think back to 2006. Who could have done it?
There's not a few, like nowadays I hear the name Tom Hardy thrown around. I hear Tom Hiddleston. You know, Idris Elba's been thrown around. But I don't think any of them can do it like Daniel. What do you think? I don't know. 2006. These actors weren't as big back then.
No, if we go back to 2006,
Who was in the fold?
Well, if it's not Daniel Craig, then who is it? One man I did find from my research might be a bit surprising. Superman, Clark Kent, Henry Cavill.
Real?
Came second
to
Daniel Craig.
That's a name that has been thrown around recently as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's certainly not only is he much bigger, much more famous now, but he's definitely stacked on a few more muscles. He might have to trim down to play Bond. I don't know how you can be a secret agent if you're walking around looking like you weigh 150 kilos. So Henry Cavill came second.
Yeah, right.
He was preferred by the director Martin Campbell for this role.
Really?
So this could have been a very interesting landscape.
This could have been
back in
Cavill
2006.
back then.
This could have been him.
He would have been really young then, eh?
Yes, you're bang on. The producers, they were a bit concerned about his age.
Yeah,
Back in
too
2006, when this film would have released, Henry Cavill would have been 23.
Yeah, too young, I think. I think that was a good choice.
It was. Don't feel so bad for him. He did manage to go on and do a couple films with Ben Affleck that you might have heard of. And he did actually star as another Ian Fleming creation in The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
That's right, and that's where people really put his name in the fold, because he put on a good performance in that, didn't he?
Yes, he had another great spy movie performance in Mission Impossible Fallout as well. One other name that I saw floating around that I quite enjoyed, and there's nothing serious here mentioning that it was offered to him other than the odd interview, but Clive Owen back in 2006 would have been a great pick as well. More in line with that kind of classic thought as Bond.
Yeah, a bit older, yeah.
What do you think of Eva Green?
Eva Green, I thought she was pretty good. I haven't seen much of her work. I looked at her IMDb and I'd only seen a couple of films to this day, but I thought she was perfect in this mischievous role of, well, not mischievous, but you trust her throughout the whole film. You don't think there's anything there, but then so when it hits later on, you are surprised. I know we weren't surprised. We've seen the film,
Of course,
but at first watch, I think it hits pretty good. The sort of twist, I guess you call it.
it does. She does seem trustworthy enough, but she has this darkness to her, this steeliness, this coldness, where you get this kind of distance from her performance that she really is hiding something. And Bond has some great quips throughout where he picks up on that she has this necklace that it signals some kind of relationship.
I love that.
And something that plays into the darker theme of her character. And this is still, as they're, pardon the pun, they're bonding throughout the middle of the film over the poker game. And they have one violent action sequence where Vesper ends up getting involved, and it's clearly traumatizing to her. She starts to realize that she might be in over her head. She had some interesting film roles before this. So she was in Ridley Scott's Kingdom from Heaven, which is a bit of an infamous movie. That was she was just about cut out of that in the theatrical cut, and then was restored in the, I think it's like a 3.5 hour long director's cut. Who knows if we can even find the time to watch that. And she was in a Bernardo Bertolucci film, The Dreamers, where she did a lot of full frontal nudity and sex scenes.
Oh, wow.
But we might just leave that one there.
Yeah, I mean, I bought into their relationship in this film, and I like how he had those quips. He was asking, he wasn't trustworthy. But then, by the end, you see him saying, "I'm giving it all up." I thought that was interesting, where they're just like, "That's it, I'm giving it up. We'll go out on holidays." I don't know what he said, but it was pretty much like, let's just.
Well, Bond was ready to retire
after
his first mission.
I don't even remember that.
This is the 21st Bond film, and he was ready to call it quits.
It's the first, it's Daniel Craig's first film as Bond. I'm like, he's already called it quits. I'm thinking, there's definitely something going on here. But that just sort of elevated the love that you knew he loved her at that point.
What did you think of what was going on in that scene with what she was wearing? On this rewatch, Dan, I picked up on Eva Green, her name, Eva Green, green eyes, she's dressed in all green. What happens minutes after they share this deep connection where Bond's woken up, he's met her again, she's clearly stayed with him, she gets the money and she sends it to another bank account, she steals the money. she's dressed in green. I was like, my God, the mise en scène. They've been foreshadowing this the entire film. She's greedy.
Yeah, right.
She said that she was a treasury agent. She's there to protect the money. She was always there to poach it, to steal it, to get this other terrorist organization, who, you know, we're going to touch on in a couple of episodes as well.
It's funny. I still forgot a lot of things in the film, so I wasn't surprised, but I was. Oh, I remember this. I remember that, and so I did miss some of those foreshadowing elements that you probably picked up on more than me. I don't think that was the only one either. There was a few, you know, obviously the necklace is a big sign when you look back now. Obviously that was her from her husband or boyfriend, whatever it was. But
who else could have played that role?
You know, I thought she was, you know, it could have been done by Anne Hathaway or someone like that, maybe.
Yeah, but that's a big name.
She's a big name, and I don't know if they want big names for Bond girls.
Absolutely.
At that time, I think, as we've seen, you know, the progression of these films, it's always been lesser known female actors.
It has been. Although, if we go back, there's one interesting movie in the Bond film series, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, when they had a bigger actress, Diana Rigg, who was famous for the Avengers TV show, a big British spy series. She was really the star of that film. It's the first movie without Sean Connery, and you can tell as that movie goes on that she kind of takes over. She's not necessarily this big action heroine, but she has these awesome dialogue scenes with the villains, and it kind of reminded me here with Vesper Lynd. I thought the best fight scenes of the film were just Vesper Lynd and James Bond tearing shreds off each other.
Yeah.
You know, there were just lots of verbal quits, lots of these great quotes, and Bond, he couldn't get the last word in. He couldn't get one up on her. She always held this over him, and I thought that was awesome. There were a couple other names that were thrown around here. So Angelina Jolie, Charlize Theron.
Yeah, those names
massive.
Those names, they're big names. But like I said, they probably wouldn't have fit into this world. They're just too big. People would see them and like, oh, that's Angelina Jolie. That's not this character. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I want to throw one name in the hat.
Yep.
Picture this. Rachel Weisz.
Ooh, yeah.
She'd done the Mummy movies. She actually beat out Ava Green to get her role in the Constant Gardener, which she won an Academy Award for. And later, 2011, she marries Daniel Craig.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're still married to this day. They would be good. That was probably a missed opportunity for them because they did marry while the films were still shooting. Maybe they thought it'd be too tacky to go that direction, but she would have been good. She's got a vulnerability to her as well that probably fits those characters in her. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what films I've seen in her recently. She does more indie stuff these days. She's not really a big-time actor.
No, she's married to James Bond, right?
Yeah. You don't need to do anything, do you?
No.
What does he actually get paid for these films? Do you know?
No, I don't have a clue.
You're thinking Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., you know, he gets, what was it, 80 million for 3 movies, where he's in it for like 10 minutes each.
Yeah, and the rest of it's just a CGI suit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd love to know what Daniel probably ups the price every time. What did you think of the second action set piece with the in the airport and all that?
Oh my God! Until you said it, I kind of forgot that happened. There's so much that goes on in this film.
Isn't there?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved that the action and what we saw going on. Bond wasn't there on behalf of MI6. That was Bond. He's brash. He's arrogant. He's going out on his own to chase this organization to find out where these roads lead with the terrorists. And he's just about to pull it off. He's worked out what's going on. It was an awesome set piece. Another fantastic use of a lot of wide shots. We have some drone shots, helicopter shots, stuff that wasn't so typical of films at that time. So it was great. By that point, I was pretty exhausted though. We had 3 huge action scenes.
That's the thing.
Back to back, and then we settled down for the poker. But it's perfect. How did they do it?
No, I think there was a section of poker before that, wasn't there? One section, because the poker went over a few nights. Or
the guy didn't leave a poker game to go stop a plane getting blown up.
Oh yeah, you're right. So was that literally before the poker game, that section?
Yeah, so Bond shoots the bomb maker, gets the phone, finds out where the text goes to in the Bahamas, follows where
Right. Yeah, you're right.
My God, like-
it was exhausting because by the end of it, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to settle down. Poker sounds good because it was a lot of action. But that being said, it was still good fun.
It was.
good entertainment.
You know, it was good fun. You mentioned him before, Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Who
What
would
a-
you have had playing the villain?
I mean, just before we go into that, what an actor this guy is. I've got not a crush on him, but everything he does is, I don't know. I've watched a lot of his films, and I think there's one I didn't like, which was on Netflix. I forgot the name of it. Arctic, maybe? No, not Arctic. Can't remember the name, but it was a lot of action. Anyway, have you seen The Hunt that he's in? That's a film you need to watch.
No,
Really good acting.
Is that a Nicholas Winding Refn film?
I'm not sure who directed it, but it's a foreign film, so it is subtitled, but he puts on his best performance. I think it was 2008. Anyway, he's brilliant in the film. Who else could do it? I don't know. Like,
It's perfect.
I think Rami Malek maybe, but he wasn't around then. Do you know what I mean? It's who at that time could have done that. He fit it perfectly with the weird eye and just the evilness this guy portrays.
He
It's
does.
just-
He has such an evil presence and an evil cadence. You look at him and you're like,
you just know he's a villain as
you're
soon
like,
as you
what's
see him.
going on inside this guy's head?
Yeah.
I don't have anyone else here that was considered for the role.
No.
I mean, I went back and had a look, and the role was pretty much handed to him. He said it was a bit of an anticlimax. They said he auditioned for it, and they just immediately gave it, and then that was it. They were guns blazing from there.
Best casting.
Yeah, it was
casting
perfect
call.
casting, though.
Yeah, it was. It was. A lot of that film, I feel, is perfect casting. Obviously, we'll never know.
No, like who else
But-
could really be whipping James Bond in the balls?
With the poker scenes over the few days, what was your favourite in that sort of section? What did you love about it?
I love the brief scene when Bond orders his martini, and he's taking us through step by step and how he wants the bartenders to make it, and then every player at the table orders the same drink, and we also get a snippet of Jeffrey Wright as Felix Leiter.
Jeffrey Wright.
Before he's revealed.
I was
what happened
shocked
to
when
that
I
guy,
saw
right? What
him.
happened to him? And everyone says, "Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that." Oh yeah, cool. Just hold the fruit.
Yeah, that was great. I like the part where he loses the hand on purpose to see if he's been bluffing. So he does this little twitch with the eye, whatever it was, and then later on he does it again, but he was actually being played by Mads again. You know that scene? I thought that was brilliant. Just stuff like that just adds to it. I don't know.
I thought when Bob was poisoned and he ends up in the bathroom and he realizes he's going to cardiac arrest, and then we get those really short, I don't know how many frames, we just get these real flash frames in black and white of Bond struggling, heads out to the car, and it was like, whoa, this is the jump we needed to really up the game and up the stakes here.
Yeah,
I thought it
great
was
acting for that
fantastic.
scene as well. Yeah, and it sort of helped them connect a bit more with the love interests there with them too. Yeah, no, the whole poker scenes were really engaging, entertaining. It probably would have taken up at least 40 minutes of the film, maybe more.
It's a long movie. At the time, this was the longest Bond film released.
What is it, 2.5?
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
And we would get longer Bond movies after this. The Daniel Craig films are pretty notorious for
Long hauls, yeah.
Yeah, for not leaving too much on the cutting room floor. I felt, you don't feel this movie drag. Like it's
That's the thing.
Almost flawless.
Did it drag?
We get to the very end and we're still pumping. We're still racing. I don't know how they did it. The editing in this film, which was nominated for a BAFTA and some other awards,
Was it really?
just
Yeah.
red hot. I just
Yeah.
can't talk about it
Because
anymore.
it didn't drag, did it?
No,
It didn't
not at
really
all.
drag. The only time where you're feeling exhausted is obviously that action set piece that we're talking about
We
in
were
the
three
airport.
of them back to back.
yeah. Obviously that maybe you'd remove that second one or make it a bit shorter, but even then, I still enjoyed it.
Oh, it's great. Like, give me more Bond. More and more and more and more and more.
What other awards were they nominated for? Do you know this film besides editing?
Absolutely. So, I know Ava Green won a BAFTA for Best Rising Star.
Wow.
And it was nominated for Best British Film, Best Direction. It may have even picked up something for Best Actor for Daniel Craig. Like, this was a huge, huge hit.
2006. Yeah.
Yep, this was released in 2006.
Yeah. Wow. So moving on from the poker scene, then we get the sort of torture scene there. Once he's won all the money and outsmarted him, turns into this third act. What were your thoughts on all of that and what happened to Mads and how that played out?
Yeah, it was a bit of a Deus Ex Machina there. It was a massive, it was a massive subversion, and I loved it. We hadn't seen anything like that in a Bond film. This is, critics at the time said that this was a movie that threw away a lot of the tropes. We still had things like the Aston Martin and Bond sleeping with a few different women, and he was brash. He made some really arrogant decisions, big bold decisions that some played off, some didn't, which was also good. We got this real vulnerable Bond. Yeah. And you can't get much more vulnerable than being stripped down to nothing, whipped in the balls by Mads Mikkelsen for a good 5 minutes. But he still got some great quips in. Yeah.
Speaking of that, though, the scene where he rocks up to the hotel and he just looks at the chicks, up and down, like that sort of stuff.
He's checking them out.
He's checking them out. And that would not be in a Bond film in 2020, would it?
No,
do you know what I mean?
We don't.
We've changed. It's changed.
We don't need to go too much into what Bond does in 2006, let alone Bond in 1962. But it really has changed, and
hasn't it?
Even in 2006, this is a lot of what he's doing here. It
really is more mundane.
Screenplay.
Yeah. Compared to the older ones, but even then, checking them out, like if you put that out now, I don't know if you get the same reception from all these. Sort of feminists and all that, those minority groups.
Maybe, but we do get Eva Green putting on this really solid performance. Someone who has Bond around her middle finger, and he has no clue what's going on. And that's I feel that's a really strong leading woman.
But what's funny is he always says, I only like married women, right? He says it throughout it. He obviously gets Mads chick as well. Was it Mads chick? No,
that was
the other guys.
That was our early henchman we were chasing. Correct. Alex Dimitrios. That was in the Bahamas.
Yeah. So he gets her, and then obviously Eva Green, who we don't know is married, but obviously she is.
What did you think about that reveal?
Where of her? Well, it wasn't really a traditional reveal. It was more of a reveal, like it was a gradual reveal. I don't know. They didn't just hit on it.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a great plot twist. From what I found, that was ripped directly from the novel, and I don't think there's too many other Bond movies that we have a Bond girl turning into another villain. Also, in that scene when she's running off with that money, she's dressed in all red, and you look at it and you're like, okay, this is like a classic femme fatale. My biggest problem with the movie, touching on her reveal, why do we get this big exposition dump from M later on? Vesper's died. It's been really emotional. It's huge. It's almost like, could we just cut the movie there, not worry about this last 10 minutes, and leave it for the sequel? Do we need Judi Dench giving us this big exposition dump of who is Vesper Lind? Why was she stealing this money? Who is she stealing it for? We find out about her husband. Could we not have saved that? Why do you think they did that?
There's always money involved, isn't there? They knew they were going to make a sequel. They wanted to bring you into this world, and I think a lot of it is that. But I don't think you've got a big actor there, Judi Dench, and
they didn't really Dench. We should be saying,
they didn't really utilize her throughout the film. I didn't think so. Maybe they were trying to cram her in at the end. They're like, shit, she's in it for 1 minute.
Time for reshoots.
You could have gone without it. I agree. I didn't think it was 100% necessary. What were your thoughts?
Well, MI6 were pretty clueless throughout. They're always a step behind Bond. It's not something that we'd seen too often in the Bond series. We didn't see a character like Q, who we'll get in a couple films' time. It was like, okay, this is going to be a much more personal story. Did we really need her there at all? She's really the only thing that kind of carries over from the previous series, from Pierce Brosnan, from anything older, and I think she's amazing. I'm so glad they kept her around, particularly when we get to Skyfall. Like, my God, that is Judi Dench's film.
Yeah.
But they just didn't have anything to do. Some of these performances, I mean, it's a 2.5 hour film, and Judi Dench, Jeffrey Wright, and Mads Mikkelsen, to an extent, don't have a heck of a lot to do. But we're really nitpicking.
We are. It was the classic case of we know that she's going to be in the next however many films. We need her in here to establish this character. How can we weave her in? Seriously, I think that's how it
we had about 4 films that we established her in. But I guess you're right. We'll weave her in.
I guess. Yeah, it was definitely a was definitely Daniel Craig's film for me, but we'll touch on that later. Jackson, give us a few of your behind the scenes of Casino Royale. What have you gathered for us?
We mentioned before this is the 21st Bond film released, and it had a really interesting production history. So Casino Royale had been adapted twice before for the screen. We had a TV movie in 1954 starring Peter Lorre, and we also had an absolutely unwatchable spoof. Do not try. I got half an hour in. You cannot watch it. That released in 1967 with the massive cast: Peter Sellers, Woody Allen, and Orson Welles. Shocker of a film. So what happened is that the film rights had been traded through this studio and that studio, and despite nearly every Bond novel and all the Bond films released by Eon Pictures, which was established by the famed Bond producer Albert R. Broccoli, at about 1999, Sony owned the rights to Casino Royale. What happened is that Sony decided they wanted to try their hand at superheroes. So Sony made a deal with MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, who were working quite closely doing the Bond films with Eon Productions.
Everyone knows MGM, the lion that comes up at the start of the film.
Yeah, do you want to give us
For
an
the
impression?
casual fans.
I think you nailed that one.
Yeah, go on.
So Sony traded the rights to Casino Royale for Spider-Man in 1999.
Wow.
I know.
That's interesting.
Really interesting. And Sony later went on to co-produce this with their studio Columbia Pictures alongside Eon.
That is really interesting.
So what happened here? We wanted to... Pierce Brosnan had made his 4 Bond films. This was really seen as a reinvention, as it was the producers at Eon, which at the time was Barbara Broccoli, Albert R. Broccoli's daughter, and Michael G. Wilson, her half-brother. They were a bit concerned that Bond might have been feeling out of touch. Even though Die Another Day made plenty of cash at the box office, the critical and fan reception, not so great. At the time, we had modern action heroes like Jack Bauer from 24 and Jason Bourne. They wanted a re-updating, they wanted a reinvention, and they went back to a director who had done it 11 years before, Martin Campbell. He was a New Zealand filmmaker. As I mentioned, he directed GoldenEye, which saw Pierce Brosnan's first turn. That was a massive hit when it came out, critically and commercially.
So he's done a Bond film. This isn't his first rodeo,
This
right?
is not his first rodeo. And at the time, when Casino Royale released, he was also the oldest Bond director at 62 years old.
Wow.
He's also made a couple other films you might have heard of. He did The Mask of Zorro and The Legend of Zorro.
Yeah, okay.
He also...
Has he done anything recently?
Yeah, he did Green Lantern.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we
Was
might
that
call-
his last film?
No, he a few years ago, you might have heard of this. He had a film come out, which I believe it's still on Netflix, The Foreigner. It's Jackie Chan.
Yeah, Jackie Chan.
And Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
I hear those two. We got to go see it. It
Yeah.
came out to pretty good reviews, and I think it grossed about $150 million on a $35 million budget.
Yeah,
So it was a
friend
pretty
told
good
me that
hit.
was all right. He wasn't expecting much, but it was. I haven't seen it, but
I can't think of too many other films with Jackie Chan and Pierce Brosnan, so I think we got to see that.
yeah, I think Pierce is the villain in that. I'm not sure.
Spoilers.
Oh, whoops.
Dan,
Yep.
who almost directed this?
Who almost directed this? Sam Mendes?
Good guess.
Yeah.
Think 2004. Think the wildest guess possible for a Bond film.
What about, this isn't a wild guess, David Fincher?
Quentin Tarantino.
No.
Yes.
Really?
2004. He's the head at Cannes Film Festival on the jury. He comes out. He has a chat to Eon Productions. He says he wants to rescue the franchise.
Really?
Eon had made it clear they want to take Bond in a new direction. They weren't happy with Die Another Day. Tarantino later goes on and says his movie, he wants it to be subversive. He wants it to be set in the 60s. He wants it to be in black and white, and it would have starred his personal favorite actor, Pierce Brosnan. Tarantino actually met up with Pierce Brosnan at a hotel bar. They had a few apple martinis, and Brosnan was like, absolutely, I'm on board, let's do this.
It was going to be in black and white.
It was going to be in black and white. And what was the first 4
Wow.
minutes of Casino Royale?
black and white.
Black and white. We didn't see any gadgets, and it looked like it could have been straight out of the 60s.
Yeah, so that's probably obviously played in there.
Yeah, and
That's interesting. Isn't it?
Tarantino also suggested Eva Green back in 2005 as his Bond girl.
Really? So they've taken a lot from Quentin.
They've taken a lot from him, but
for no recognition.
don't feel too bad for the guy.
He went on to all right. Some
was-
success.
Some success. He was on the press junket, I think, then for Kill Bill Volume 2. And he
Was he?
also came out at that time and said he'd done a World War II script, but I don't know what happened to that.
No, that'd be interesting. What is he going to do for his 10th film? Sidetrack here, but is he doing the Star Trek? We don't know.
Well, we last heard it was an R-rated Star Trek, but it looks like that one's off the books. I don't know if that's happening. Star Trek have done a couple TV series.
Maybe we'll see the latest Star Trek.
Yeah, did you see that one?
No,
Was it Beyond? It was Idris Elba, almost Bond.
No, I haven't seen it. I'm not a Star Trek guy, in all honesty. I'm more of a Star Wars, but maybe not anymore. Star Wars either.
I'm sure we'll cover that in some episode.
Yeah. Any other behind the scenes that you can tell us, Jackson?
Yeah. The writers have a pretty interesting history too. So this one was written by Neil Purvis and Robert Wade. They've written every Bond film since The World Is Not Enough, which came out in 1999. Well, they've at least got a screenplay or a story credit on them. They've even got one coming up on No Time to Die, and it was also written with Paul Haggis. Paul Haggis, Oscar-winning writer and director for Crash. Crash, which won in 2005, the year before Casino Royale. That's pretty notorious. That beat Brokeback Mountain this year, and these days we look back on Crash as a bit of an interesting choice for a Best Picture.
Oh, I look at it as a classic, but I know what you mean by a controversial, we'll say.
Very controversial. Yeah. He also penned the script for a little-known video game you might have played called Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
Did he?
He did.
So those writers that you're talking about...
Yes, Neil Purvis, Robert Wade.
They did every Bond in this current generation?
They have done every Bond in this current generation. If they haven't written the script, they've at least done the story. And they also wrote the Bond parody, Johnny English, which somehow we've got 3 films out of, and I just don't know
All 3?
Just the first.
Okay.
They co-wrote it with another guy, William Harris, who's gone on to write the more recent 2. I don't know how that series has 3 movies, but somehow it's making money.
I didn't know it had 2, let alone 3. I saw the first one and I thought, is this just Mr. Bean as a MI6 or whatever?
You know what? Sign me up.
I thought it was all right, John. Yeah, anyway. That's interesting as those writers. They're obviously very highly acclaimed, esteemed. But what else have you got for us? Anything else?
Yeah. What did you think of some of the supporting cast? We had one actor in particular, Giancarlo Gianni. That was the Italian gentleman they met in Montenegro. What did you think?
Is he a big name? I didn't recognize.
Giancarlo, massive name in Italy. He's probably best known for getting his guts torn out by Hannibal Lecter in Ridley Scott's Hannibal.
Really?
Really. And, you know, at the time, that was a pretty big role. It's probably his best known English-speaking role, as well as this in Casino Royale. But doesn't someone else in this movie play Hannibal?
You're right.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen goes on to play Hannibal.
Mikkelsen, yeah. It's very interesting.
I know.
How everything intertwines.
This is like it's like 6 degrees of James Bond here.
Wow. Mathis, going on that, I feel like they said the word Mathis more than he had any lines. Am I wrong?
I think you're absolutely right.
He wasn't a standout.
He was there to explain...
He might be a great actor. I don't remember anything he did.
He was there to explain what was going on in poker, because, you know, it was about 40 minutes of the film, and I couldn't have told you anything that had happened in that poker game. I think I was just too busy oozling over some of the dresses Eva Green was wearing.
Now you're sounding like James Bond. All right. Thank you for those behind the scenes, Jackson. Now we're going to get into our sponsor for today, Display. If you guys don't know, you can get 15% off with our code WeWatchThis15. 15% off any displays that you would like. Obviously, display, we've got 3 up here in our office now. More gaming style, but there's plenty of movie ones for you movie lovers out there. They pretty much easily stick to your wall. There's an easy magnet mounting system that provides ease of use, I call it, and they're really good company. We thank them for sponsoring us today, and they're going to be sponsoring us for many more episodes to come. Jackson, have you got your displays yet, mate?
Absolutely.
Which ones?
So I've got Casino Royale.
Yep.
I've got Skyfall.
Yep.
I've got Spectre.
Yep.
And I might have one for next week's episode.
Oh, okay. So we thank them anyway. Thanks to Display. Obviously, use the code WeWatchThis15. Moving on, Jackson, to our favourite scene.
I think I love the climax. I love the conclusion. I love James Bond brawling through that sinking house.
Yep.
It was just like, this is the kind of set piece we needed.
Mm-hmm.
As a Bond fan, as a Bond aficionado, as a Bond connoisseur, compared to Die Another Day, where we're on ice with a vanishing car,
Yeah.
Bond... the practical stunts in this film are fantastic, but that sequence just had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I agree. It was a very solid climax to a film that, as we said, didn't drag. It didn't have any right to have a climax that good, I didn't think. I don't know. For a first Bond film, James Bond, Daniel Craig coming in to hit the pacing, start, finish, end, I thought it was brilliant. But my favourite scene, Jackson, is the opening. Yours is the end, mine's the opening. Not the black and white. That
Which was
great.
amazing.
The chase scene. As you know, I'm a big action guy, but that chase scene for me is one of the best chase scenes put to cinema, in my opinion. And I've watched a lot of movies, and the storytelling, the action, usually because I've got a bit of film background, I'm always looking at the editing of things. I'm looking at the stunts. Sometimes I'll go, I'm looking for the stunt man. Sometimes it takes me out of it.
Yes.
For this, didn't think about it at all.
Was there a stuntman?
There definitely was. But Daniel Craig cannot pull off any of that. I don't think... Was he even running? It might have been the stuntman.
I thought he was just running through walls.
No, he probably did a lot of that stuff, more than we think.
How are they going to top that in this film series? How are they going to top that stunt?
That's the thing. I don't think they can. It was brilliant.
They definitely will in about 2 movies' time.
Let's not... Yeah, you might be right. This was one of the best chase scenes I've seen, and it just set us off to the new Bond series. Just thought it was the perfect way to do it. So, and the way it ended as well, where he's caught, he's got the guy hostage, he's caught, everyone's looking, and you think, oh, what's he going to do here? And then shoot, bang, bang, they're all gone, he disappears. Brilliant. It's just, I had to laugh, but...
It's Bond without a clue, and we love it.
Yep. Bond without a clue. Jackson, who are we replacing the 2 leads with? Who are we replacing Mads, and who are we replacing Daniel Craig with? If we had to, who are the 2 we're choosing?
I think I love Clive Owen.
You
I
love
think Clive Owen in 2006, absolutely, could have nailed that role. As a villain?
I know. I don't know. It's so difficult. Like, I just can't think of one either. And that's a testament to Mads.
That is a testament to Mads Mikkelsen in this movie. His turn is Le Chiffre. It has to be him. Hands down.
I don't even have one for Bond either. Like, I don't have any replacements for this. I think this is perfect.
It was a big swing.
Obviously, this is a segment where we try to replace actors. So, if I had to, for Bond, I probably would have gone with Tom Hardy. It's definitely a different direction. He's more gritty. He might not have fit into this maybe movie as well as Daniel Craig, but he's got the acting chops.
It's a different Tom Hardy in 2006. We'd see him a couple years later in Bronson, and that'd open up a lot of people to what he could really do.
Yeah.
So I love that pick.
Yeah, and then for a villain, I mentioned Rami Malek maybe, but he would have been 12 then as well, maybe. I don't know how old he is now. Maybe Benedict Del Toro.
I love it.
Yeah, I think he might have been the only other guy I could think of.
How many Bond movies has he been rumoured as the villain? Has it been every film since Casino Royale?
Pretty much.
Well, it's funny. He was in The Living Daylights. That was the Timothy Dalton Bond film. He's one of the henchmen in that.
Yeah, he used to.
That's from. Oh my god, that's 30 years ago now. It's before us.
Oh wow.
It's BD.
Jesus.
Before Dan.
Yeah, Benedict. I think he probably could have pulled it off. As much as we love Mads and we don't want to replace him,
I love.
If we had to, I think Benedict. Don't you? Yeah. Whose movie is it?
It's Sony's. Here's why. They swap out the film rights. They get Spider-Man. They release Spider-Man 1 and 2 before this film. They're making billions of dollars. Columbia Pictures, Sony owns them. They make this with Eon and MGM. Sony egregious use of product placement in every Bond film, but they win. It's their movie.
They win.
It's theirs. And if it's not theirs, Dan, whose is it?
It's definitely theirs. That's an interesting take that you've gone for the studio or the higher up there. For me, I'm going to give this film to Daniel. As I said before, it's a generic pick, I know, giving it to the male lead, James Bond, in a James Bond film. But for me, he had to nail it. This was him. You know, he had a lot of scrutiny, as you said. He had to nail this. You know, there was money on the line. There was pressure there. You know, think of the pressure of being Bond. He pulled it off, and I think it's his movie. He has by far the most screen time, obviously, in this film, and every scene he's in, you're enthralled. You want to see what he does next. The acting throughout is brilliant. You know, you see the love, the betrayal. You see it in his face. When he's in that scene where he's nearly dying, I thought that was really well acted as well. No, it's easier to act distress than other emotions, like you're dying, but just all that sort of stuff. It just all culminated in a great performance from Daniel.
His back was against the wall. He had the Bond fan base and the public not wanting him to pull this off. And knowing after this film, there would have been a few people registering Daniel Craig is Bond.com.
Yeah, I like that. And even now, you see the comments on No Time to Die trailer, and everyone's saying, we don't want this guy to go. He's the best Bond.
He's Bond.
Seriously.
He's Bond.
He might be my favourite.
He could be your favourite. It's a tough call. We've got someone like Sean Connery. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
But Daniel Craig is Bond in the 21st century. Hands down.
Yeah. So, Jackson, topping it all off, final thoughts on James Bond Casino Royale.
My rating?
Final thoughts and rating.
9 lashes to the balls. It's almost perfect. It's almost perfect. We're just nitpicking here.
Yeah. You remind me of that scene now. That was a great scene, a back and forth between him where he's like, do it. What was he saying? He was going, do it again. He was laughing. That's classic Bond.
I think you were getting swept up with two hot, sweaty men. It was very intimate.
9 out of 10 from you. Look, originally I gave it an 8. As you saw on Letterboxd, I thought...
At 10 other movies.
Hey, at 10 other movies. You might have convinced me to go 9, I think.
I think
I'm going 9.
Yes!
I think it's almost flawless. For me, a 9 is a must-see, and a 10 is a masterpiece. And I think this isn't a masterpiece from me, but it is a must-see. 9 out of 10. I think it's any action fan, James Bond fan, cinema fan, movie fan. You got to watch this, I think. It is a longer one, but it hits on everything you want: action, suspense, dialogue, soundtrack.
We have an awesome romance element, which is missing from a lot of these Bond movies.
Correct.
We
Yeah.
have some exotic locations. It's said that
Got to
Bond
have the
films
exotic locations.
Bond movies are holidays for poor people, and I'll go on this holiday again and again and again.
Yeah. So final score: 9 out of 10 for each of us. Brilliant. Jackson, there we have it. The Casino Royale podcast. Our first ever episode. The first time we got together. We sounded a bit shaky there, but it actually turned out all right, that episode. What'd you think?
I don't know why you're laughing. I thought that was a great take. You definitely couldn't hear the nerves in our voice and the shaking in our boots throughout the entire episode. And listeners, there's a lot of segments which in the last 20 or so episodes just haven't made the cut. Also missing are some of our cues. I think our editor had a much easier job back in those days, but sadly not the case now. Wow, what a look back in the time machine.
Oh, yeah. The poor editor always has to add in Tenet cues, just like that one you heard, and he just has a real rough time, doesn't he?
I know. You know what, Dan? I'm still waiting to cover Quantum of Solace. What's going on?
Well, it's coming. Don't you worry. It's just a few delays due to a pandemic. You might have heard of it.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. I definitely haven't been fatigued for the last week, and I'm currently waiting on test results back. But hey, enough of that. Dan, our listeners have tuned in This is the moment they've all been waiting for. We've been building on it now for 20 episodes. In fact, this is the second time we're recording this.
We've already answered these
thanks to our
questions.
editor.
So.
And we're going to answer them again. Listeners, we bring to you our 20th anniversary Q&A.
First question, Jackson, from Pretentious Film Club. Best Australian movies?
Ooh. Dan, you're going to kick us off, and I'm not going to let you answer with anything from George Miller. Go.
Animal Kingdom.
Nice.
Rabbit Proof Friends.
Nice.
What about Kenny? No, I'll erase that one. No, I'll erase that one. The Nightingale, 2019.
Ooh, very nice.
There's 3 to kick you off.
Ooh, I'm going to go with a very underrated gem, The Proposition, starring Guy Pearce. Interesting revisionist Western and interesting take being here in Australia. Dan,
when was that released?
The Proposition, that might have been 2003, 2004.
Wow, yeah. I think it was 2005. 15 years. Shit. Goes quick.
Where did time go? Our next question. SVPTV, or SVPTV. How long does it take you to get ready in the morning? Well, me, could take anywhere from, 45 minutes, an hour and a half from the time I get up, have a shit shower, shave, have a bite to eat, get myself started for the day before getting out the front door, or now from working from home, it can take a little while. Dan, how long does it take you to get ready in the morning?
The opposite of how long a Nolan film is. Does that make any sense?
No, but nothing else here on this show. Okay, our next question sent in from Jackson_Kratz_reviews. Awesome first name there, buddy. Anything.
Ask us anything. Get it?
And that's where our lovely editor plays the cricket soundbite.
What do you think of Margot Robbie being the lead on the new Pirates of the Caribbean by Sheet_movie reviews? I'll tell you what, she is one hot mama. But I do not want to see this franchise rebooted. I'm a big fan of it. Jackson, not so much of a fan of Pirates. Don't get me wrong, great series. Just take it out the back and shoot it.
I can't say I'm too keen. Dan really summed up my feelings there. Far from the biggest fan. And since we're recording this Q&A, we've actually learned that Christina Hodson has joined the project alongside Margot Robbie. Christina Hodson, you'll remember her name having been dragged through the mud by yours truly in our Birds of Prey episode. So I can't say I'm too excited for the new Pirates flick, but Margot Robbie as the star, it will be hard to look away. Our next question, sent in by Jordan Bull 55. What are your thoughts on The Secret Life of Walter Mitty or The Way, Way Back? My 2 favorite movies. I can't say I've seen either. I haven't seen The Way, Way Back. I haven't seen The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, but I know Dan recently watched Walter Mitty and covered that one on his Instagram at Dan Allen Movies. Mate, what were your opinions on that?
Awesome. It'll make you get off the couch. It'll give you a bit of inspiration, and yeah, I agree. It's a great movie. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites up there. I think you know what my favorites are. Tenet is coming very soon.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And The Way, Way Back, I think that was back in 2013. I watched that. That was pretty good as well. I believe Steve Carell's in it from memory.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that was really good. Both really good films, so I can understand why you enjoyed both. Favorite Tarantino film by Daily Cinema? Jackson?
Oh, has to be Death Proof.
Yeah, I was going to say Death Proof, but I'm on a Tarantino binge at the moment, just finishing off the Kill Bills, moving on to... What am I moving on to next?
Inglourious Bastards?
Yeah, probably. But that's probably my favourite from memory, but I'll come back to you after a rewatch.
Okay.
What's been your favourite film so far this year? Final_thoughts_reviews.
Favorite film so far this year. Having now re-recorded this Q&A, it's a toss-up. Whether or not this counts as a film, I don't know, but it's going to be either Hamilton or Da 5 Bloods. Maybe Da 5 Bloods just edges it out thanks to Delroy Lindo's crazy unhinged performance. And Spike Lee is always one to provoke discussion, no matter the quality of his movies or your thoughts on the runtime, for example. Dan, what's been your favourite film so far this year?
Alexander Hamilton has taken the number one spot. If you could call it a film, watery territory, iffy territory.
Listeners, if you're not sure, Dan's currently doing some interesting hand motions.
But Jackson, I saw a really good film just a few days ago starring Andy Samberg called Palm Springs. That could maybe not number one, but it's up there. So
might we be covering that here on the show?
I think we should. I really do.
We're not. Surely we're not tearing up the schedule again.
Oh, we always do, don't we?
We always tear up the episodes as well. We're so sorry, David Copperfield, but something had to go. Okay, our next question sent in by DJames_Newling. Who do you think is the most promising emerging actor/actress right now? Dan, kick us off.
Timothy Chalamet. He is on fire, Jackson. Take a look at his catalogue of work already. And he is
extensive,
looking good for the future. Let's just say I don't think he'll have to audition for a long, long time.
What are you excited to see him in that's coming out later this year?
Oh, just a small indie project from Denis Villeneuve. It's called June. And guess what, Jackson? I didn't realize, but there's 2 parts. Apparently. To Dune, yeah. 2 parts.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, given 2049 didn't quite turn a profit there, in fact, it was pretty much a financial catastrophe. How confident are you that Dune's going to bring in the cash?
I'm not confident at all, especially with Blade Runner, one of my favorite films of the 2010s, and it flopped. And this is a similar sort of thing. Probably lesser known franchise, so I'm very concerned. The only saving grace is they've got a stellar cast to push them hopefully over the edge. But the budget's huge.
So did Dune in the 1980s and also had one of the best directors at the helm, he who shall not be named, David Lynch. Okay, on to the next... Oh, hang on, I haven't given my answer. I'm so sorry, listeners. My favourite emerging actress right now, Dan could pick this name out of the air, for one of my favourite movies of 2019. Who was it?
FP.
FP, you know it, baby. Florence Pugh. Her 2019... I mean, it goes without saying. Little Women, Fighting with My Family.
If she contacted you on your Instagram and said, do you want to go out for a date, what's your response?
I'd probably just drop my phone at that point and hope it's not cracked. And when I pick it up, I don't want to look.
What would you wear to that date?
The artist kind of sequence.
What would you wear to that date?
Probably a long flowing white gown, maybe a flower headdress.
What would you slip into her drink?
Our next question was sent in by Chance Melsom. Shout out, Chance Melsom.
That was a Midsummer joke, by the way. It sounded bad. I had to clarify.
It really sounded bad.
I know. I needed to clarify it.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it.
Bombshell. Okay. Chance Melsom sends in. Have you seen Upgrade? Have we seen Upgrade? Could we mention it more on this bloody podcast? We even mentioned it to Natalie Erica James. Go check out the Relic interview. We had to mention it to her. What a movie.
Any Aussie director, you know I'm on it. So Lee Winnell is a Lee Win legend. Love Upgrade. Highly recommend it. Next question. Why is Dan so good looking? By Anonymous. Look, Anonymous, I don't know who you are, where you're from. But I was just born like this. Not many people are born with this sort of facial structure, so I just can't tell you why. But I've been given this gift, and I accept it, and I cherish it.
Moving on to the next question. Why is there no underscore or dot in your username? Sent in from sleep_1w. Best worst films of the year so far from movies that don't suck. Dan, how about we hear your worst?
Worst films of the year so far. Oh, we've already. Do you have an hour?
We've got all the time in the world. In fact, you might even say we have a whole year to discuss this movie.
We've got 365 days. Precisely. Artemis Foul's another one. Capone, The Grudge, Fantasy Island, The Lodge. Ooh, oh, not that bad. But yeah, there's been a few stinkers. I could name them all day. There's been plenty this year.
Absolutely. And Dan just stole my thunder. I think Josh Gad absolutely shitting himself in Artemis Fowl has to be at the very bottom of my 2020 barrel. Dan, what's our next question?
Cinephile reviewer. If you could have drinks and dinner with 3 movie characters, who would you pick and what would you ask them? What did I have last time for this?
You had 3 Hugh Jackman characters.
Oh, that's brilliant. So originally I had Logan, was it Keller?
You had Logan, Keller, and I'm thinking Alfred Bourdain, but it's the other one, Robert Angier.
Robert Angier. All right. So this time I've got Eddie Brock, Max Rokanansky, and Bane.
Listeners. Oh, hang on. We've forgotten the second part to this question. Dan, what are you going to ask Eddie Brock, Max Rokanansky, and Bane? Can you take off the mask?
I'm going to ask them... fuck.
Fucking loonies, they're great, mate. But, well, they're fucking loonies, aren't they?
Listeners, last time I picked the following. I picked Patrick Bateman, Lou Bloom, and Travis Bickle. Now I've got to come up with 3 other characters. All right, you ready? Here goes. It's going to be Jared Leto in Suicide Squad. It's going to be Jack Nicholson in Batman. And it's going to be Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight.
And you are going to leave Mark Hamill outside in the rain at that dinner party? How dare you?
I'm sorry, Mark. There's just no room at the table for the 3 worst Jokers of all time. All right, on to the next question.
Get out of here! I'm out! I'm walking out the door. I'm walking out.
Look, as long as you hit record this time, I don't mind what you do. Okay, on to Chris Pratt, 1, 2, 3, 4. He asks,
Love you, Chris.
Why is Nolan a fantastic filmmaker? Hey, what about...
I love you, Chris.
Nolan
Keep him coming.
Why
Keep
does Nolan
them
not have chairs
coming.
on set?
Oh, don't do that. Why is he a fantastic filmmaker? Only he can answer that. And we're going to have him on in our next episode, are we, Jackson? Oh, no, he hasn't returned our calls. Next question from That's Just Jerome. What are your top 5 memorable moments in film? We're not going to give you 5. Jerome will be here for an hour. I'll give you 1. And it goes like this. Cooper, we're talking.
Cooper, what are you doing?
Docking.
Endurance rotation is 67, 68 RPM.
Okay, get ready to match our spin with the retro thrusters.
It's not possible.
No, it's necessary.
All right, I'll give you one of my favorites as well. This is some gourmet shit.
God damn, Jimmy. This is some serious gourmet shit.
I'm going to get those cues in too.
Ah, you better. Mitchimus Prime, shout out Mitch. What is the best Will Ferrell movie you have watched? All right, the best Will Ferrell movie I have watched. What else can it be other than Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy? We could play all these cues endlessly for the next hour. In fact, that could be the full episode and no one would complain. Dan, what's your best Will Ferrell film?
Anchorman, no doubt. No doubt in my mind.
Doubt.
Brian_K0, have you thought of making a film? Well, stay tuned. Me and Jackson are working on a script for a new short film, and we're going to divulge a few details on that probably in an upcoming episode.
And we can't wait to reveal that one to the world. By the way, listeners, Dan has released a short film. It's available online if you want to check this one out. Be sure to have a look at the 5-star ratings on his letterbox, because if anyone's going to rate his own movie 5 stars, you
Hey.
at Dan Allen Movies.
Hey, I took it off, okay? I felt bad. I've taken it off.
It's not the only time you take it off. The movie is called Brothers, so be sure to check it out.
Check it out and give it a 4 or 5 star. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
I don't want to hear from you.
Of course, just like we only expect 5-star reviews for this podcast. I know Hoobie. Oh, that's nice. Hoobie, what are your personal favorite top 5 films made before the 1960s? Dan, can you name 5 movies made before the 1960s?
I'll give you one that I watched recently, Seven Samurai.
Ooh, what'd you think?
Unbelievable.
Love it. Here's a couple from me. I love some of the Charlie Chaplin features like Modern Times and The Gold Rush. Nosferatu is one that sticks out, as well as The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And let's pick out one more horror classic here. Let's go for one of the Universal films. Probably The Son of Frankenstein, maybe the best Frankenstein movie out there. You look, with some of these old films, you've got to be in the right mood to watch them, but they are true cinematic classics.
Or anything with Hitchcock as well.
Ah, of course. Rear Window, Vertigo, North by Northwest, 39 Steps, all great.
Next question is from Feather_Heather. Is there a single film that inspires and influences your day-to-day? If so, why?
365 days.
And mine would be Capone, especially a certain scene with where he's in the bed. Next question. Thoughts on PTA by Arta_C Maya. Hope I'm saying that right. PTA means Paul Thomas Anderson. Jackson, what are your top films from him? Or I guess, what are your thoughts on him?
Oh, I love him. I think he makes some of the most complete, if not lengthy, movies. I'm excited to see the new projects he's bringing out. I believe he's working on a new film. This guy must have heaps going on. I cannot remember. I haven't seen some of his more recent stuff like Phantom Thread and The Master and Inherent Vice, but Boogie Nights does rate as one of my top films. And I want to go back and I want to rewatch Magnolia as well. I hear Tom Cruise gives a great performance. Dan, what are your thoughts on PTA?
Yeah, he's not my number one favorite director of all time. I really like Punch Drunk Love. I like Boogie Nights. I haven't seen Phantom Thread either. There Will Be Blood is a classic, but I haven't seen all his work, and I'm not all that inclined to go back just yet. Eventually I will, but I'm just not in that sort of phase at the moment. That sort of mood.
There's only so much time in the day.
Yeah.
Cinephile Reviewer with a second question. Thank you so much. What movie sparked your interest in film? Dan, what's one film that kind of kicked things off for you?
Where is she?
Where are they?
Killing is making a choice.
Where are they?
Choose between one life or the other. Your friend, the district attorney, or his blushing bride-to-be.
All right, and I'm going to pick my quote.
You complete me.
Maybe if I get a chance here, I'll complete my quote. It has to be, Mr. Anderson. What else but the Wachowski brothers' Matrix?
You want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker, a fiend. And one night, he goes off crazier than usual. Mommy grabs a kitchen knife to defend herself. He doesn't like that. Not one bit. So me watching takes a knife to her, laughing while he does it. He turns to me and he says, "Why so serious?" He comes at me with a knife. "Why so serious?" Sticks a blade in my mouth. Let's put a smile on that face.
Listeners, I think we have just jumped the self-indulgence shark.
Favorite movie franchise? Janknecht _.
Or Jan Necht?
Depends how you read it. My favorite franchise, well, my favorite franchise has to be 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, 3 phenomenal films back to back. You wouldn't think they could get better and better with each episode, but they somehow pull it off.
Oh, absolutely. Mate, mine are really closely aligned with yours. It has to be, what else but Twilight?
Oh, fantastic choice.
Luke_Mahar. You should make a short film or feature. Well, great suggestion. I think we're working on that one. How about we make another podcast episode that we keep? That's a good one too.
Most creative Nolan screenplay. Jackson, I know you're itching to talk about this man. Tell me his most creative screenplay. And don't tell me it backwards.
Well, what else but Tenet? Because it has to be Tenet. You know Tenet.
There's only 3 cues per episode.
Ventrexian Gaming. Here with another comment. Capone wasn't worth the money.
That's not a question.
To the choir, baby.
That's not a question, but I agree, brother. What's the worst film you've ever seen? Ever seen?
Benny D _ movie reviews.
Midsummer? Only joking. What's the worst movie I've ever seen? The Lighthouse? Oh, I'm really stirring up some A24 fanboys right now. Worst film?
You're
maybe
looking
one
at
of
me
the...
lobster, ain't ya?
Maybe, what is it? The Hunger Games spin-off? That was so bad.
What was that?
Oh, Hunger movie or something. Yeah, scary movie. One of those ones. Yeah, they're all shit.
Oh, well, you could really throw any of the date movies, epic movies, vampires stuck into this answer, and they all kind of fit. Maybe movie 43 also ranks quite low there.
They're
The
horrific.
Curious Audience. Here we go, Dan. Best sequel. I'm going to take the reins on this one. Give me either of James Cameron's classics, Aliens or T2 Judgment Day. What's one of your favorite sequels?
Godfather 2.
Ooh, nice choice. Nice choice.
Why does Kingsman the Golden Circle banned in Cambodia? Liam Q58. We have absolutely no idea why. Summit _ Book Dragon. Did you watch Artemis Fowl and what were your views? Oh boy, did we watch Artemis. Me and Jackson watched it together before lockdown and we were laughing our asses off.
Absolutely. In fact, if you want to hear our reviews in depth, and there's plenty to discuss and dissect and a lot of shit to eat about that movie, go check out our episode covering Artemis Fowl. While you're at it, go check out our Relic episode where we conduct our first ever on-air interview for the podcast. Finally, Dan, closing out our second recording of this fantastic Q&A. Listeners, we thank you all so much. We will be inboxing every one of you individually to let you know that we've answered your questions. Here we go. Summit _ Book Dragon. What's your top 5 action movies everyone should watch? Dan, I'm going to go first here. I'm going to take the lead, and let's go for some action films that might not always get the recommendation. Okay, here goes. I want to suggest The Raid, Indonesian action movie non-stop. Released in the same year and almost the same plot, Dread, starring Carl Urban, which is a heck of a lot of fun and breakneck pacing to that one as well. I want to go for Death Wish 3, starring Charles Bronson from the 80s, which has some batshit insane, ultra-violent action sequences. Number 4, what's another action movie I could recommend to our listeners that they might not always check out? Oh, what about Clive Owen and Paul Giamatti alongside Monica Bellucci in Shoot 'Em Up, which is another non-stop action movie. And finally, number 5. Ooh, how could I forget? The Kevin Smith action film, Cop Out, with Bruce Willis. Truly a cop-out of a film. Dan, give us top 5 action films.
What about Hacksaw Ridge?
Ooh, who directed that?
Mel Gibson. What about the Lord of the Rings series? What about the Die Hard series? What about the Dark Knight series? Okay, they're a bit too easy, isn't it? What about Independence Day for a throwback?
Ooh, hot take.
Yeah. What about Apocalypse Now?
Not really an action film. Don't think we're going to allow that one.
All right, Mad Max, Terminator, Matrix.
Oh, my amazing podcast co-host, phoning it in as always.
These are not in any order. These are literally just...
Definitely not off the top of your head, because you've researched these questions quite thoroughly. I absolutely
We've watched
agree,
a lot of
especially when
movies.
we go through this twice.
We've watched a lot of movies. All the explode. Actually, my favorite action film of all time. Anything from Michael Bay.
Oh, it has to be Terminator: Dark of the Moon.
Oh God. All right, is that it, Jackson? That's all the questions for today?
Dan, that just about does us for today.
Beautiful. So, look, hopefully we don't get any of these recordings stuffed up again. David Copperfield, unfortunately, was the greatest episode we ever recorded, which just happens to be a bit of a shame. But maybe one day it'll emerge from the deep web and appear like a shining light, and we'll grab it, take it, and throw it at you. But anyway, Jackson, that's all for today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, mate. What a way to wrap this up. Listeners, you've stuck around for the end of this Q&A, this lengthy episode covering Casino Royale. At least we hope you didn't tune out. It was our first ever recording. We never thought it would see the light of day. And since you're here, how about you check us out at We Watch This Podcast on all social media platforms. We're talking Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, Twitter, TikTok. We want to see you hit subscribe or hit follow. Drop us a 5-star review. You want to check out his content at Dan Allen Movies, my content at Marshall on Film. And that's going to just about do us. We can't wait to join you next time, or for you to join us next time, as we cover a movie that might not be a film. And what is it, Dan?
Alexander Hamilton.
Thanks so much for listening.